Well, good evening. It is Monday, August 28th, 2023. Welcome to episode 33 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. And kind of a late announcement that we were even coming on tonight. So just put the banner up about, 9 minutes ago. So we'll see if anybody decides to join in tonight. But I thought that we would come on and maybe discuss a few topics, some things that are kind of happening around here on the homestead, some things that are happening elsewhere, politically and otherwise. So anything that comes to mind, I suppose we'll chat about. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about, certainly feel free to put something in the comments and we'll have a conversation with you. So welcome to the broadcast this evening. We were going to go on last week, but it turns out there was some kind of a system-wide outage like in Central California that wound up taking out a lot of different internet providers up in Northern California, one of which was ours. And we typically have very reliable Wi-Fi. I'm very happy with the provider that we have because being in a rural area, for many years we struggled getting somebody that was.
We've gone through at least 3 different providers,
Yeah.
if not 4.
Yeah.
And they worked really well for, maybe a month. And then all of a sudden it just declined and they never could really fix it.
Yeah. Or they would cut your speed back and it just sucked, So it's nice having a provider that's good. But one of the things that it kind of really lets you know is that when your internet is down for any length of time, your method of communication is significantly impacted. And, so much of the communication that people have these days is via the internet. And so when you don't have that as a communication source, it really makes you think what are those other ways that we communicate? Obviously we've got the phone, and if you're going to see somebody in person, but even internet wise, emailing somebody, you're not going to be able to do it. And so it just kind of really drives home the fact that we are just so tied to the internet now. And I don't know if that's a really great thing or something we need to be mindful of, because when those things get disrupted, then we're severely impacted in some respect,
We are. When we decided to go ahead and use our cell phones at the house, and had the corded phone disconnected, I don't know, I kind of gave it a little bit of thought, and I thought, you know what, I want to have that hooked back up just in case something happened, and nobody would do it. So
yeah, it
ended up leaving us dependent.
Yeah, that was stupid on our part, actually. We had actually 2 phone lines in this house when we bought it, some 20 some years ago. We had 2 different phone lines, and it was kind of nice having a landline. But then, of course, once the internet and cell phones got so much more popular, and that's what we were using primarily, we just decided, we don't need a landline. So we actually disconnected it and everything. But hindsight, I think we probably made a mistake there. At some point, they're going to go away, but it still does exist for those people that actually have it. So communications is a pretty big thing to consider. Yeah. One of the things that I had set out to do this year, and it's been a really big target of ours, is trying to get a little bit more self-sufficient. We talk a lot on this channel and within this community about being self-reliant. And I think that another one of the ways that you can really be self-reliant is to manage your own energy. And that's been one of our, again, vulnerabilities, where we don't manage our energy. So when power's out, it definitely affects your standard and quality of living. So we made that a commitment to pursue that. And I had looked at different options, really. I had thought that maybe I would do a vast majority of it myself. But upon looking into doing that, one of the things that's really a problem is the interconnection agreement that, you need to have with your utility company. So anytime that you do any type of tapping into the meter and all of that stuff that's going to go back, possibly tied to the grid, you need to have, approval on that interconnection agreement. And I sought out, or actually Sean Mills from Hack My Homestead, he sought me out, and we were working together in order to try to get some resolve on that. And I will say that Sean's a solid dude. So if you're looking for any type of an off-grid type of stuff, he's a really good guy to work for or work with, and he's a valuable wealth of information. I think the problem with working with Sean for me was more on my end, in that I was trying to have him try to help me with that interconnection agreement, and he still wasn't even able to get through to PG&E. He made several attempts to try to get through to try to see how we could facilitate this. And so it was just a real pain in the rear. So what I essentially decided to do after talking it over with Rebecca is we're going to wind up just going with a system that is going to be put in by the original provider that put in our system. So we had grid tied solar put in 2015. The problem with that is that we don't manage our own power. Power goes out, we're without power. And so we want to add batteries to that. And so we're just going to go through the same company to do that. And I feel good about that we're going to be able to take that next step. It's a cost, but it's something that I think if the average person were to take and look at what it is that they spend monthly on their bill, and then add that up by year, see what you spend yearly on your electricity, and then run that out about 10 or 12 years and see how many thousands of dollars it is, I think a lot of people would be quite surprised. We actually will, we will actually pay for our system that we put in 2015 in 9 years. So it's well on its way to actually being paid off, and we purchased it. We're not leasing it. So that's an investment, I think, that's well worth doing. It's a pretty big chunk of money for a lot of people. I think we paid it was close to 40 grand, wasn't it?
It was, I think, 41 or 42.
Yeah.
But that kind of worked out really nice because we did that towards the end of the year. And so they allowed us to do the payment, or to pay it in 2 payments. So one fell on one 1 year, and the other half fell on the other half of the year. So it didn't really impact our taxes that bad.
Right.
And of course there was a rebate to come back. Going solar.
What they have right now currently in California is they have a 30% federal tax credit. So you don't get 30% money back, but what they do is they credit you on your taxes that you would have to pay, 30%. So it's definitely something that I think that if a person's looking to go solar, look at all your options, see what's out there, find out what's going to work best for you, what's going to be best for your time and your commitment. And I think this is what we've chosen. I think will suit us fine. But the problem, I suppose, is that there's a ton of people that want this done. So there's a big waiting list. Mm-hmm. And we won't be able to wind up getting this done till probably sometime around April or May. It's like an 8-month window. So, but that's one of those things that, again, we wanted to push the ball forward on, because it's just a huge concern of mine. I see, as I'm sure most people do, the things that are happening in the world and locally. And I think that gives a lot of people concerns about certain things. And all that I would say is that, just find the thing that you can actually do something about and chip away at that, find out what those vulnerabilities are, and work toward, shoring yourself up so those aren't concerns when those things wind up being disrupted. So energy is a huge aspect of that. Water we still have to, I still have to work on the water situation around here. And, truth be told, I haven't been as active doing things around the homestead within the last, I think, 6 weeks or so. I've been pretty busy training for a ultra marathon, which has taken up, more of my time to do that, and then time to kind of rest and recuperate after runs and things like that. So I haven't been outside in the heat of the day, sweating even more, depleting my body even more, because just going outside and in the middle of the day, you wind up losing a bunch of fluid. So I've been a little less committed to doing the homesteading things. But after my race that's coming up, I'll probably be getting back into the swing of things. That race is going to be on September 9th. Hey, what's up, Marla? Missed the first few minutes, gonna have to listen to the rerun. Right on. Yeah, I don't know if you missed a whole bunch, but yeah, welcome and thanks for joining us tonight. It's kind of an impromptu, just jump on and just kind of ramble off some stuff and see if anybody wants to chat about things. But yeah, I've got that race coming up, and it's going to, yeah, it's, what is it, like 11 days away now? 10 days, something like that.
Yeah, it's 12
it's
days for us to drive down there.
Inside of 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
anyhow, it's that's what I've been kind of focused on, and it's been even more difficult just keeping consistent with my content. That's something I want to be able to do for the folks that are a part of this channel and this community. I want to be able to at least remain consistent with putting out content. So I've been trying to do that as well. So yeah, what do you think? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I did want to address, however, we don't have very many people in visiting, but there was a lady who made a comment about the birdhouses, and I wasn't able to address it, and I'm sorry I did not catch the name. But thank you. She said they were beautiful. So I did want to say thank you for that. I love painting them. You just have to talk him into building them.
Yeah. 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 I think one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about is just that, I don't know, I think at least this is just my impression of how things are. I'm not a person who follows like politics in the news very closely. I pretty much just catch it, through certain mediums that I happen to look at. I get a lot of stuff from social media. You'll come across something and then that might be of interest. And so I just get the sense that there's like people are a vast majority of people are kind of in that mode of just like returning to normalcy. They think things are kind of normal in a sense. And I don't get that sense personally, just looking at the way things are, economically and just the mood of the country. I don't really get the sense that things are on that type of a path.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you look at the price of items in the store and you look at the size of the boxes of, say, crackers or cereal or whatnot that change, the price may not change, kind of makes you feel like you're getting the same thing, but you're not when you get it home, and it's a lot less than what it was. So you're actually paying a lot more. It's just something that lets you know that it's not normal. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess they call it shrinkflation or whatever. And it's something that's real. I think that since we're not necessarily, a lot of people have been able to go to events, they're not on so-called lockdown, they're not on having to put on certain things to enter buildings and things like that, right? People have kind of, in a sense, I think a vast majority of people get that feeling of freedom again. And I don't know. I just don't get that sense. And so I really think that it's an opportunity to realize that you shouldn't really let your foot off the gas. If ammo prices are good, you don't not buy ammo. if food prices are good, you don't not buy those things that you can buy when they're good, because at some point they're not going to be quite so good. And I wish, yeah, that's true, Marla.
That is very true.
Nothing is normal. And, they always talk about a new normal or whatever, but it's really, it's like incrementalism is what we typically see, is that they push the envelope so far that people kind of get fed up, they get agitated, everybody's on edge, and then they relax it. But it never ever goes back to where it started. It just kind of always stair steps up, just incrementally. It's like gas prices, where people are freaked out about, oh, it's $5 a gallon, and then they let it back to like $3.50, and people think they're getting a bargain. And the next thing you know, it's pushing $5 a gallon and then beyond. And then at some point, $5 a gallon will seem normal. So it's just one of those things that I think that's the mood that I have. That's the feeling that I have, seeing a lot of the things that I wind up seeing, just in passively consuming it on social media. And so anybody maybe listening to this, that just think about those things and realize that, if that's the way it seems to you, that it's just kind of in this lull, or things aren't so bad right now, think about it. All it's going to take is one event, and people are going to be freaking out over certain things that, you probably had an opportunity to do something about. I actually came across something, and I don't even know if this is true or not. It might be something that happened a while ago, and I'm just catching wind of it now or whatever. But they were talking about a rice shortage, and they showed people in Texas freaking out about rice. And I don't know if that's a current issue, or if that's something that I'm catching the tail end of. But again, all it takes is one event. And I really think that that's the ultimate goal from the people that are so-called running things, is to just keep us divided and to keep us distracted. And, there's no unity. I was thinking about that like the other day. We're so far from, okay, eternal vigilance says that. You heard that a few weeks ago. Yeah. So that may be old news that I got, but nonetheless, it was something pertaining to India stopping their exports of rice, and people started like freaking out about that. And if you're somebody who's already taken care of that issue, that's one less thing you have to worry about trying to freak out about. So it's just important to put back the things that are most important to you.
Mm-hmm. And then I had heard, and I didn't, write it down where I heard it from, but that they're going to kind of slow down the production of gas, which is causing the prices to go up. But that's done purposefully.
Yeah. It's really, I think it's a sad state, where we can't find people, or we can't have people that are actually supposed to be running things, and I'm talking about politics now, talking about the political establishment that we have within this country, that they can't get together and have our interests in mind. I think it's a real sham to call this the United States of America, and we're not united on anything. I mean, that's fine. We can have a diversity of opinion. We should have that. But there's just so much that doesn't bind people in this country anymore. And that's, I think, by design. They're always pushing things to try to divide people. And that's a real sad state,
Yeah. Well, like you and I talked about, we're more alike regardless of who you vote for. As human beings, we're more alike than maybe we all realize.
Well, I think the way that I look at that is that people get pushed into their camps politically. Hey, I'm team blue, I'm team red, right? You have to choose a side.
These bags.
What up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you tonight. We all get pushed into this camp of having to choose a side, so to speak. That's what they want. They don't want you to opt out. They don't want you to think like spags. They don't want you to like just disregard them and hey, what's up, Lucy? How you doing? Good to see you tonight.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. Eternal vigilance. They don't want us to. They want us to choose that side. And if they had our interest in mind, they would work toward a common purpose. But all they want to do is culturally divide us. And there's so much that we have to work out on our own, despite what our political leaders are trying to do. And the elites, the power elite, what they're trying to do to rip this country apart. The only way that we're going to keep it together is amongst ourselves. And that comes from community. That comes from the church that you may belong to. That comes from any group of people that you've aligned yourself with that shares your values. That's up to us. Because these ass clowns that people run to the ballot box to elect, they don't have our interests in mind. And that's what's really sad about the state of this country. It never used to be that way. I feel so much different about this country and what it stands for than I ever did. I used to be a patriot, whatever that meant, right? To sing the praises of the red, white, and blue. And I still love this country. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that there's so much that goes on within this country that it shows you the only true strength that this country has is we the people, not those the assholes that are seeking to divide us apart. And I think that's what we all have to try to keep in mind. So that's kind of a little bit of a rant of mine, but it's just the way I feel. And I think that it's up to us as like-minded people to take the ball and to do what's right for us and our families and our communities, because they don't give a damn. The 80s, Top Gun, Van Halen, and America Could Do No Wrong. Yeah. That movie, I was thinking about it because I had CJ Kilmer on, and CJ's, he knows what's up. He's a historian, history teacher for many years, and he's very steeped in history and knows a lot about propaganda and all these different agencies and the things that they got going on. And that Top Gun, man, that shit had to be approved by the government, right? All of those movies that we watched, Saving Private Ryan and all that sort of stuff in Hollywood, that all gets approved, man. They ain't making those movies without governmental approval. So it's just kind of interesting how that's part of the message that the elites and the establishment wants to put forth. So it's crazy. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's up, Rick? How are you? Rick's in the house, and we got Jason, Kentucky Sustainable Living, in the house. What's up, man? Let's see here. Let's see what. So Eternal Vigilance said, have you guys been watching the independent videos people are making from Maui? I suppose. I mean, the only really stuff that I get to see, like that I come across, is just like little clips from I see on TikTok, and most of that, like I say, a lot of it is just like idiots being like stupid, just saying bullshit. But some of the stuff you can kind of go, wow, man, that looks like that's a bad deal, or that person looks like it's a legitimate person or whatever. But no, I haven't really seen a whole lot of the stuff. Just I've seen the the damage from that fire, it's been pretty dramatic. It reminds me very similar to any of the fires we've had here recently, where people wind up just getting incinerated. That fire comes through and then people just don't know how to react. They have nowhere to go. And it's unfortunate.
I heard they had a second fire on Maui.
I'm sure they had more than one. I mean, they had a couple going, I think.
Just recently.
Yeah. Yeah. Hollywood has a liaison office in the Pentagon. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what CJ was alluding to as well. Yeah, it's a whole thing that, like, if they want to use a military base or they want to utilize, and hey, where are you going to get an F-18? Where are you going to get an F-18 Hornet and be able to fly around and do all this cool stuff? I mean, they can do stuff like that now with CGI, but back when they made Top Gun, they didn't. Back when they made a lot of these other things with all that military equipment, you don't just go out on a movie set and buy that or build it. You got to get approval to get that stuff. And so, yeah, they have to have, politics. It's an interesting thing, man. I will say that my take on things have changed pretty dramatically recently, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And it's just based on what I've seen. When you see certain things, your eyes kind of open up to them, and it maybe changes your perspective, and you learn things. And that's what life is all about. I really feel like it's my job to, like, keep learning, or I'm not pushing myself, because there's so much to learn and there's so much that I don't know. And so when I learn something that they didn't teach me in school, that, they're not going to teach certain things. They're not going to talk about certain governmental programs that were run in the 50s, where they ran experiments on the civilian population and doing things like that. They're not going to talk about that in history class, but those things happened. And I don't know, it's just a thing where you learn things, you kind of change your perspective on things as well. You're going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that they targeted people that I guess had nothing to lose, or you weren't going to realize who they were using as guinea pigs to test out their new experiments.
Right. Are you referring to, like,
handicap?
Yeah.
In institutions which no longer exist anymore, but
yeah.
Or just impoverished.
Yeah.
Folks.
Yeah, I think that's largely why they're so big on doing all these experimental vaccines in all these third world countries. I think on the outside it looks like, hey,
we're helping.
Yeah, we're helping those people. They need our help. We're saving people, and to their credit, they may be in some respects. I'm not saying that they're over there just like, but what's the difference if some people have bad reactions to certain things and whatever? No, who are they going to talk to? What's their recourse? So it's just one of those things that, like, you have to kind of look at everything in totality and ask the question. I think that's what so many people in this country don't do, is they don't question things. That's my thing. I question everything. Somebody tells me something, I'm a skeptic, dude. I've always been that way, right? No, I'm just questioning everything. I want to know. I want to know why. And so I think that's what so many people don't do when they say, hey, do this, do it again, do it a third time, put another one on, if you catch my drift. That's what I think a lot of people don't question. And I will say, with the political season upon us, we're coming up to an election year. We're seeing a lot of shenanigans, a lot of wackiness, right? We're seeing political candidates that are being, I guess, targeted for persecution, or however you want to, look at that. And it just seems as though the scales of justice aren't really all that equal. And it surprises me how many people probably the same people I was talking about that just sit there and say, yeah, I'll put another one on, that don't question like, hey, that's fucked up. I don't care if that's my side. I don't care if that's team red or team blue. I'm an American, and that's bullshit. That's not the way our system was designed.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
And so many people, they're just willing to say, oh, well, that's so-and-so. Good for him. Yeah, he's getting his because I don't like him. And that's a weird place, man, that we're in this country, don't you think? Don't you think it's like kind of like just odd to me? And the thing that like has been a little bit it's been a little refreshing, I will say, is this new dude that I've seen come on the scene, man. I saw him about a week and a half ago. Like I say, I don't really follow politics or whatever. And I see this dude come on, Vivek or whatever his name, Ramaswamy. And
what did I call him the other day?
I don't know. I don't know. He's that dude, man. I'm telling you, I'm not going to be voting in the national election. So it's not like, hey, he's my guy. But the thing that's nice about that guy is he's actually articulating what a lot of people are thinking. He's actually speaking to the issues that I think a lot of people, regardless of what side you're on, he's actually able to articulate that in a way that's intelligible. It makes sense. He has a plan. I'm here to say, I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it because the system, right? They're not going to allow a guy like that because he's already come and said, hey, I'm taking you out. So what do you think? What do you think the bureaucracy is going to do? You think they're going to like stand by and say, oh yeah, we're going to let this guy get elected? Because it's, again, I don't really think it's much about what we want as much as about what they want. So the thing that's really nice that gives me hope is that I can look at this dude and say, that's what I've been looking for. Because every year when they trot out the ass clown of the month for team red or team blue, right? Mm-hmm. When they trot them out, what do we say? Is this the best they can do? Out of 330 million people, this is the best we've got? John McCain, Obama. Everybody says, oh, he's such a wordsmith. You take the teleprompter away from that dude, he's a stuttering son of a bitch. He's not articulate. He sounds good. He looks good. He cleans up well, stands there with his nose up in the air, and people worship him like he's something, but he's just another puppet. And this Vivek dude has come out and said as much. And I find that to be refreshing. It's something that nobody speaks about, at least from the establishment politicians. And so it's just nice to see somebody coming out saying what needs to be said, and he's not an establishment guy. And I will say that there's no way he's going to be president. Right? What do you think?
I don't think he will be either. I don't think he will be. But I do think that he would pair well with someone else running.
Yeah, he would do very well. I mean, I'd love to see a guy like that in. I seriously would. I think it would be a great thing for our country. But they're already gearing up to
I agree, Rick Starr.
No way, man. That ain't happening. No, I ain't going down like that. They take me out, man. Deep state would take me out.
You guys haven't seen his colorful side.
They're like, no, we can't have a guy like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I like that dude. I'm telling you, I really do like him, but I just find it entertaining from an entertainment standpoint because it's funny to watch him up against these anchors, right? These like Chuck Todds and all these like just mouthpieces for the establishment coming out trying to bury the guy. and he just lights them up, man, and does it with eloquence like nobody I've ever seen. And that to me is it's just refreshing. I'm stoked to see a person like that in. I don't know. We'll just see where it goes, but it's awesome.
He does love his chickens.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. We don't really know anything about Ramaswamy.
No, we don't.
We do hear what he has to say, and it sounds good, but we don't really know him.
No, but you could say that about any one of these other people. We don't really know them. You know, these are the people that are the best we can do. I'm serious.
Right, but we've
Pence,
had an opportunity to see them in office, so we do kind of know a little bit about the way they perform.
Yeah, but the problem is that they don't perform, right?
Right. But see, we know that.
Right.
You don't know that about.
No, we didn't know that about Obama either, did we? Because he was a senator for like 6 months and then he was president.
Right.
So how did that happen?
That was a mistake.
Yeah, how did that happen? You know, Biden's been in for 40-something 5 years, and now he's stumbling and muttering his way through the presidency.
He was stumbling and muttering before.
That's what I'm saying. It's a sad state that we can look around and say that's our representative, that's the person for the people, and yet he's anti-constitutional. He's a threat to freedom, I think. I don't know. Maybe that'll get me a strike. But it's worth saying. Because it's an opinion. That's all it is it's an opinion. I guess I might not be allowed to have that opinion on this platform. I don't know. We'll see.
Sure enough.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, all these people, man, it's an interesting thing. I just like, I don't know. I guess I kind of like the thought of finding out what's really going on, because I know there's a lot of things that are actually really going on that none of us will ever know. Like what happens at these meetings that they have, these Bilderberg meetings and things like that.
When they close the doors, so
yeah.
Everybody else, the camera.
Yeah, invitation only. The richest and most powerful people in the world getting together in a room with no cameras, no whatever, no you don't talk about it kind of shit. What's going on there? That's an interesting deal, don't you think? Annually to meet and have that kind of a discussion. I don't know.
Crooked Little Homestead. That's pretty funny. I was just reading about him being gay.
Yeah.
And they had a picture of him kissing another guy.
That was Michelle. That was Michelle.
Well, see, she is a guy.
That's what they say. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I just wish it's a pipe dream of mine, but I just wish that we could actually have faith restored in the institutions that I think a lot of us grew up believing were on the up and up, right? I think a lot of us that are of my ilk, my age, probably grew up thinking that the things that we learned on the news were pretty factual.
The truth.
That's the truth. You know, Dan Rather told us that. Walter Cronkite told us that.
And that's the evening news.
Yep. And that's the way it was, or some bullshit he used to say.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of those institutions that I think we've kind of lost faith in. And it's a pipe dream of mine that I wish that could come back. But as I talked about earlier in this broadcast, the incrementalism that we see, right? It's like gas prices. Just keep climbing that ladder, fall back a little bit, climbing the ladder. That's what we're seeing in society, which is a degradation of values, a degradation of the things we all shared as common beliefs. Like, you know, hey, like boys had a bathroom and girls had a bathroom, that sort of belief, right? These are things that are being chipped away at. And I don't know, it's just kind of a weird thing that we're all standing by and we're watching this happen. And where does it go from there, right? We're kind of, if you think about it, we're on this precipice of where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Think about this, guys. Think about this. Look how fast things have escalated in your life in just the last 15 years. Now put that out to another 25 years. Where do you think things are going to be technologically? It's very interesting, man. I actually saw this on TikTok. I shit you not. It was a cart that was, it was like a freaking maid. It was badass, man. It had this like arm, and it would reach back, like just like boop, and it put another attachment on, and it was scrubbing toilets in a public bathroom, going around the urinals, doing its thing. And I think the thing probably had cameras, so it could like tell, like, hey, there's, like urine there or whatever. And it's like mopping the floors, and it reached back, get another thing, and it wiped the thing down. And it was in and out of there in like a couple of minutes. And it was just like,
I think it mopped the floor too.
Oh yeah. It had like a mop, like a little squeegee, and it was mop. And then it would open the door, go out, close the door, go and open the urinal stall. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And I talked about this just on another broadcast, about AI. In fact, I spoke to Nicole Sauce on this, on the last thing. And she says, Jack's coming to the next workshop, and you're not going to believe this. He's going to be talking about AI. And I said, yeah, I believe it, because it's one of my concerns. It's one of the things that I think that people, again, are sitting idly by, just kind of watching it, hearing about it, and not taking the steps necessary to like secure their position otherwise. Because there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to lose their damn jobs. If janitors are no longer needed to clean bathrooms, and maids and making beds and doing all those sort of things, I mean, that's a lot of people. There's going to be truckers that are going to be out once they go full on, self-driving trucks. And it's just like automation is crazy. So think about that, where we are right now, what we can see, and then think about what you can't see, what's going to happen in the next 20 to 30 years. It's going to be unreal. And so it's just a weird place we're in, man. I'm tripping out on it, right? Mm-hmm. It's an interesting place we're getting to witness. 'Cause I don't think we've ever seen this amount of change this fast. We are actually watching the fourth industrial revolution take place right before our eyes. They've been talking about all this AI and all this automation and all this sort of stuff. And they've been working on it, perfecting it for years. But I mean, hell, it was like when I was a kid, right? I can remember like Atari, right? Remember that?
How about Pong?
Oh yeah, the Pong, the boop, boop.
That's dating me.
No, everybody remembers Pong, Space Invader, all that stuff's so antiquated. Now it's just like real life, man. You put a goggle head thing on, you're like in a thing. And pretty soon they're going to just be putting chips in people, and people will be accepting this, because people, not all people, but there's a lot of people that don't think for themselves. Like I said before, remember? Like 3 times. There's a lot of people that don't think for themselves, and they're just going to go along with whatever's next. Because here's something, maybe some of you don't know this. Maybe some of you in other states are not aware that we have a food store called Whole Foods here. And now that store was bought by Amazon. Whole Foods is kind of like, for those that don't know, it's like a hippie store, kind of like they got all the Whole Foods and all organic stuff. And I mean, it's a great store. I like going there. It's all overpriced, hemp and all this, almond milk and goat milk and all this other kind of healthy food.
$10 for a quart of.
Yeah, healthy food. It's a good store actually. But they got like shopping carts that are like this big, right? So you push them around, because when you put that much, fill them up there, it's like as much as a real cart. It's super expensive. But anyhow, they just started this thing. It's a palm scan thing. So now you just basically you put your handprint over this scanner, right? And that's all you pay. You just put your hand over it, and it doesn't read your palm print. It like infrared goes through and it reads the vessels, the veins, and all the capillaries and all that stuff, because everybody's imprint is like unique to them. So what you do is you go in and say, hey, I want to get the palm scan. You go in, you put your hand on the thing, they take down your information, and now you're good to go. Now, how convenient is that? You can just be out jogging, or riding your bike and, oh, there's a Whole Foods. Let's go in, put your hand down and you walk out. That's where we're headed. And people are going to be readily signing up for that, man. That's like some, I'm not super religious, but like, that's like straight out of the shit they write about Mark of the Beast, right?
I think it's spooky.
Oh, it's totally spooky. And there'll be people lining up to get the chip or to do the iris scan or to do all that stuff. They're already doing facial recognition in places like Walmart, unbeknownst to you. You walk in, they're recognizing your face. They have that technology. All those monitors and all the things that are up there right now. It's a trip, man. Like they're already doing that stuff. Where do we go from here?
I was reading the last comment down, which is so true, that is where they're going, is to, if you're not in line with everything, they just shut you down. Doesn't matter if you have money or not.
Yeah. Eternal vigilance, Amazon. Yes, they did buy that a couple of years ago. I heard that when they did that, they purchased Whole Foods, and I think there's at least 500 stores. I don't know if they have more than that, but they basically have been saying that by the end of the year, I think it is this year, all 500 stores will have the palm scan technology, and it goes through Amazon Pay. Okay. So that's happening, man. You got to I saw another thing where I think this was in like Britain or something like that over in Europe, where you basically doing the same thing. You have to do that to go into the store, right? And then you're in there, and then there's cameras everywhere. Cameras like everywhere. And like, I think there's things are weighted and stuff like that. So you go in and you just pull stuff off the thing and put it in your cart. And then it's basically ringing it up as you do that. And then you go out, hit the thing again, and then it'll let you go out because it takes the money out as it's tallying it up. You don't have to do anything. And so these are stores that there's nobody in other than the people that have been allowed to go in to shop. There's no people in there in supermarket, right? So
we have in a small town next to ours, the Walmart is similar to that. There's not exactly like that. There's people there, but you have to go through these arms that let you into beyond the carts into the store. And then you actually physically have to go through a check stand to be able to come out of the store.
Yeah, I think the beauty of that for the technocrat, okay, this doesn't benefit us, the people, because it's, you lose your ability to interact with another human being. And that's a beautiful thing for the technocrat, the person that wants to control everything, because you don't have anybody to complain to, do you? You don't have a person where you can go and air your grievance. It's just, that's what it is, man. That's all you got in your account. That's all you got in your FedPay account. Oh, your FedPay account's locked out. Tough shit. Sorry. Who are you going to complain to? So again, that's where we're going. And I think from the standpoint of the business, it makes 159% a good idea, right? Because of all the theft that has taken place. There is a tremendous amount of theft in our own little town because I've seen it.
Yeah, we were in a Home Depot and we watched a guy walk back and forth in the back. And obviously we knew something was up with him, and then he bolted out one of the emergency doors in the back, but there's nothing they could do. He stole a chainsaw, I think.
No, he sold it. He sold like a DeWalt chop saw, pretty, a couple of $100, man. And he goes running out with this big old box. The alarm goes off and we're kind of standing there like that. And then we see an employee come up and we go, hey, he went that way. And he's like, yeah, we don't go after him. We don't do nothing, man. Like, we just close the door and just go, say another thing was stolen or whatever. But they got a lot of that stuff locked up now in stores, in places that are high crime. I see a lot of that smash and grab stuff on social media. I mean, we're not seeing that necessarily here, but in metropolitan areas where a lot of these thugs live and a lot of these animals, I'll call them, they live, they go in a coordinated attack and they'll steal a bunch of stuff. Well, if you don't have the ability to go in the store to begin with, if it's, you know, some kind of a massive security thing where you can't just go in, you know, it eliminates that.
So in talking about this theft, how many of you have gone to your car and realized that there's something in your cart? Say you went through the self-checkout, something in your cart that you forgot to check out. Do you go back to the store, or you just load everything up and you go? For me, I turn around and I go back, and they look at me like I am absolutely crazy that I came back into the store, to be honest, that I had an item that I forgot to ring up.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. If you do that, people they don't expect it, because people like actually purposely don't ring stuff up and purposely like steal stuff. So if you're somebody who's actually honest enough to go, oh, I forgot to ring up that thing or whatever, and you go back in, they actually kind of look at you like, are you freaking kidding me right now? So it's a real thing. We got a dude who hangs out in our store. He's a security guy, and this dude's armed. He's got a Glock on. You know, he's sitting there with his piece and his body armor, and you know, he's just a hired security dude. And you talked to him, right?
I have talked to him, yes.
Yeah, I don't. I've seen him in two different stores. He works here, and then he works at another store north of ours. But what did he say to you when you spoke to him?
Oh, he's basically there just to be a deterrent for people not to steal, but people steal anyway.
Yeah. He doesn't do anything. And it's just one of those things, man, that like from the technocrat standpoint, they have everything to win by taking that element out of it, by making it so that, you know, you have to go through all these checkpoints just to get into the store or whatever to buy the things that you want to buy. And I don't know. It's just never been that way. I didn't grow up that way. I'm sure many of you didn't grow up that way. And I'm sure that, well, I don't know about sure, because some of you live in different areas where maybe you don't see this sort of crime, but it's something that we've noticed a dramatic increase in our town in California. And it's nowhere near as bad as it is in elsewhere, you know, in other places, but people are just taking advantage of the opportunity to steal. And that's unfortunate.
I went to get an item, and I had my dog with me. So I got her a pig's ear. And the guy who was ringing me up didn't see that. And I called it to his attention that it was back there. And this was this morning, and he was surprised, and he just looked at me and goes, well, thank you for being so honest. So obviously that's happening to them as well. And they're just a really small place.
Right. Pope Real Life was saying, the previous CEO, I guess she had probably seen or read this or heard this, but the previous CEO of Home Depot was talking about how the theft is killing businesses, as there's no recourse in keeping the thieves accountable. Yeah, there's actually a law in California where if it's not really considered a felony if you steal less than, I think it's like it's like $970 or something like that, like less than $1,000 or something like that. There's this benchmark that, you know, and criminals know this, they can go out and steal something of value that's not over that, and it's not a felony, and it's just it's an infraction essentially. And then they do that, and then they wind up getting out of jail.
Or I've seen in the grocery stores where you go to get something and there's an empty drink bottle sitting there, or an empty box of, obviously they were in the store long enough to eat or drink whatever it was, and then they just leave it there, and then they walk out the door.
Hey, what's up, Skane's girl? She says she's done that. She'll go back and pay for it also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
right on.
It's that's a cool thing to do, man, because like not everybody has that level of integrity. And I know that a lot of people don't, and that's their choice. But people do look at you like differently when you make that step. It's just like they don't expect it, I think.
I don't know if I ever told you that I forgot that there was a 30-pack of beer underneath in my cart. Mm-hmm. But I had somebody showing up at the house. When I got to the car, I realized, because I went through the self-check, or no, I couldn't go through the self-check. Anyway, it didn't get paid for. And I had somebody showing up at the house. So I went home to take that call and then turned around and went all the way back into town.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just floors them that you come back and are that honest. They just don't expect it.
Yeah. So again, I think that there's this real, that's just my sense. Quite honestly, it's just, there's this societal lull. I could be completely wrong on that. I know that there's a lot of people in this community that are in various stages of their preparedness journey, and they are maybe earlier on or more well-to-do, however they see themselves at that point in time. But don't just look at what your gaps are and just try to make sure you fill those gaps. Because when you see things like people freaking out over rice, and this is in Texas, I mean, they're like people like just clearing the shelves off. And that's over just like some kind of an announcement. Wait till there's some manufactured thing that they want to get people disrupted over again, because I understand from what I've heard is that they're planning on rolling out a new juice, the old juice, the old arm ticket.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's making a comeback.
Yeah. So I understand that they're planning on putting in restrictions again in airports and things like that come September, which is just right around the corner. So where that goes from here, I don't know. Does that extend all the way through the election next year? What's going to be the next manufactured crisis that's going to make people freak out and realize, oh, we don't have enough eggs or toilet paper or beans? What is that thing going to be? So just don't lose sight of that and try to keep your foot on the gas, because we do have the opportunity now to fill those gaps at this kind of period.
I think there's somebody that asked how old you were.
No, I'm old. Oh, how old am I? How old am I? 57 or 58? I don't know.
His birthday's coming up and he'll be 58.
Yes, 58. Yeah. I was born in 65. Yeah.
He's just a baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Can tell when you do that way if they were in your shoes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that, man. They're talking about rolling out another vaccine and all of this sort of thing. And yeah, everybody's got choices to make. Everybody's got choices to make.
Super herpes.
Oh, super herpes. What's that about, man? Where you been?
I know. You have something in your closet you need to get out.
Yeah. That's a message that I think everybody needs to adhere to. Ask questions. As I said earlier, question authority. That what makes them an authority. I've been somebody who's been in a position of authority. What does that make me? Like there's things that I don't know. There's things that I've done that are wrong. So what makes a person an authority? Because they've been given a title. So it's just like question everything and find out what's right for you. Huh. They sent you a whole case of biscuit joiners or biscuits. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Skane's girl ordered a biscuit joiner a couple of months ago from Home Depot. They sent her a whole case of them. You wouldn't believe how hard it was to actually find somebody to arrange a return. Huh. Usually you can just go into the returns desk, and yeah, just take anything back. And they've got various different, I think you said you worked there or something at some point. I remember you saying, so you would know. 65 was a good year, right?
Thought you were 50.
Yeah. Who, me? Oh no, I'm not 50. I was 50 like 8 years ago.
Yeah, we won't discuss when I was 50.
I would like to feel like I was 50 again. Gosh damn it. Sometimes I wake up, I'm not feeling 50, dude. Biscuit joiners. Yeah. Wow. Wow, man. They sent you a whole case of biscuit joiners. That's like a big case. That's something else. So, homesteading wise around here, I don't know. We've been, like I said earlier, I haven't been doing a whole lot of projects and stuff, but things have we're at a point in our year, our season, where things are kind of slowing down from our summer garden. We have so much like heat here in the summertime. It kind of puts everything in a state of funk at some point when we get that heat wave to come through. And we still have some tomatoes and, corn and stuff like that coming on. But a lot of the other things that we were growing are kind of, suffering. And so we're at the point now where it's like getting the beds prepped for fall planting. So that's something I'll be working on after this race. I get done with that. I'll be getting back and working on trying to get some things prepped and planted in that regard. And yeah, I don't know. What do you got going on? You've been making a bunch
As you recover.
Yeah.
I am giving my hand at making soap. I have made a few of them that we actually like. I have one that the style of it came out really good, but it honestly has no fragrance to it whatsoever, even though I added fragrance to it. So that's kind of upsetting, but
yeah.
We use it. It works fine. It just has no fragrance to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things, man. Like you gotta figure out what works. And I've said this before, that a lot of times we see people do things and we think, oh, that's easy to do, or I'll do that too. And then you try it and you realize, I don't get the same results or whatever. And so it's one of those things you got to try your hand at and get good at and perfect. And you've come a long way as far as the soaps that you've made. You've made some pretty good ones that I really like. And we hope to be able to, put those up on the website at some point if people want to buy those or whatever. But she's got to kind of nail it down as far as getting it to that point.
Not the last one, but close to the last one. It smells like you could eat it. It's more like
it's good.
A coffee chocolate kind of fragrance.
Yeah, it's really, really appealing. I like that one quite a bit. Oh, she's asking, Potpourri of Life is asking about the essential oil venture, eucalyptus oil and whatnot.
I attempted to do eucalyptus oil from our trees, and that does not smell very good. So I'm going to try a different method, but I haven't got to that yet. And then as far as that, I've been purchasing essential oils. But one of the things that I wanted to learn too is mixing them to come up with different fragrances other than the ones I just purchased. And that's going to take a little time and trial and error. Yeah.
She made me a couple of beard oils that are cool. I dig those. So if that's something she can nail down too, if people want to, look at those as well, that'd be something that might be of interest for folks. But it's pretty fun to try to make some of that stuff. And what's she barking at?
I don't know what she's barking at.
What's up, Jason? Jason's a youngster, huh? 45.
So everybody's listing their age. I was born in 1961. I am the tail end of, what do you call them? Baby boomers.
Yeah, I'm Gen X. She's baby boomer. Perfume blend. Oh, I made a perfume blend that I love. David likes. Nice.
Good.
Yeah, I wonder. You have to let us know what you made that out of. Yeah, have you done a video on that or anything? That'd be kind of cool to see. One of your videos, if you do. Well, let's see here. Well, do we have anything else we want to touch on before we get off of here? We were just kind of jumping on to talk about a few things, at least what was happening in the real world and
Girl, you're
and
not
elsewhere.
a baby boomer. You barely made it into Gen X.
Yeah. Yeah. 61. Yeah. Lucy's same 61.
All
So
right.
good year. It was a good year, man.
Yes, and my oldest brother is born in 45.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tease him about possibly he's my dad and my parents are my grandparents, and he just laughs.
Yeah.
But he's really not that old.
Yeah. Right on. Well, hey, I really want to thank everybody for jumping in tonight and hanging out with us and on short notice. And I always like coming on and having a conversation and just kind of having something to say and throwing some ideas out there. And it makes it lively when you guys, are in the chat throwing stuff back at us. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I've been really busy with the running aspect of things, and so that's taken a bigger focus of my attention. But I do like doing this, and I'll be getting back to doing more of it when I'm done licking my wounds from this race. So I appreciate it. Rick and Skane's Girl, Eternal Vigilance, Lucy, Potpourri Alive, Skane's Girl. Yeah. Appreciate all you guys.
Thanks for dropping in.
Actually saw Tactical Redneck in here tonight. So what's up, Tactical? Good to see you, brother. Life's good. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here and just, remember to be better tomorrow than you were today. Work on that. I think if we can all do that just a little bit each day and do the things that we have control over, and don't worry so much about the ass clowns that, want your vote or whatever, because that's not what's going to make your life better. You guys know that. But just don't lose focus. Don't take your foot off the gas and realize that, we're the ones that are responsible for each other, and our families. So again,
Be kind.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again, guys. And we're going to get good night.
Good night.